Hey, hello leaders, and welcome to a brand new week of Run to Your Leadership Challenges, the video version. And this week we're going to be talking about a difficult topic for many, and a topic that hits way too close to home for many, and that is the topic of sexual harassment. And I'm mainly going to be covering it from a leadership standpoint, what leaders can do, what leaders should be doing, how leaders can prevent it, how leaders can lead by example. And throughout the week, I'll be talking about a couple of different versions. So I'm kind of fighting off a cold here, very early stages. And so if I sniff and sniffle quite a bit, I apologize up front. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to hit the record button. Hello leaders, and welcome to a brand new week of Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So this whole week we're going to be covering a challenge that it hits way too close to home for many people, and that is sexual harassment. Now, I'm not going to cover the specific laws, but I'm going to be talking about what actions you as a leader should be taking to avoid, prevent, and recover from sexual harassment if and when it happens in your organization. I'll also discuss some types of sexual harassment that you should be aware of. Well, let's be truthful. Sexual harassment is never an easy topic to talk about. But you know what? As leaders, we owe it to our team members to be aware of it and to be prepared to handle it. However, the greatest responsibility is for us as leaders to set the tone for zero tolerance of sexual harassment in our workplaces. And that means always leading by the right example in this area. So today, let's talk about how we as leaders set the tone in our organizations. Now, before I get carried away, let me just say that the bottom line up front is this: any form of tolerance to sexual harassment in the workplace is flat out wrong. If leaders fail to take action against the smallest infraction of sexual harassment, it shows that they are willing to bend the rules. And with sexual harassment, this type of behavior and discipline as a leader and actions from a leader, this just cannot happen. We must be on our guard to not only set the right example, but to also be looking out to protect our team members at all times. Anything from misappropriate jokes to unwelcome looks must be addressed immediately. Now, there's no room for leniency, and your team members must clearly understand this. That's where you as a leader need to really set the tone on this. Now, one thing I often get asked is, what about hugging? You know, is hugging allowed in the workplace? And quite frankly, you need to use extreme caution when it comes to hugging in the workplace. And if you know me even at all in the littlest, and if you know me in the littlest, and if you know anything about me, well, I'm a big time hugger. I've always have been. That's just the way I was raised. However, you need to use extreme caution in the workplace. With that said, I always advise not to hug unless you are. With that said, I always advise not to hug unless you are good friends and have that type of relationship with your coworkers or people at work. And this goes for both men and women. I know some women that are very against hugging, and I know some men that, I'll give them a big bear hug and they just don't like that. So it goes for both men and women. Make sure you're comfortable, or make sure you have that relationship. Another point is each team member has a responsibility to speak up when it comes to sexual harassment, especially if they feel uncomfortable. However, this can be very awkward. And this is exactly why leaders need to be alert of their team environments and always ask questions if anything just doesn't quite seem right. Leaders must clearly convey that all team members should speak up and report any unwelcome comments, jokes, touching, looking, or staring. As stated earlier, this always seems to be a difficult topic to openly discuss in the workplace. However, leaders set the tone. Encourage your team members to speak up. Have open conversations about what sexual harassment is and isn't, and always lead by the right example. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As a reminder, if you want a little extra value each day, please check out my YouTube channel, Current Leadership Coaching, to watch the video version of this show. It's a little longer, but you get a little extra value in the beginning and the end, and you'll see the unedited version. So you'll see all my bloopers, my double takes, etc., etc. As always, thank you for listening, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges. All right. Well, it wasn't too bad. Had a couple flubs in there, but hey, here's the bottom line on sexual harassment. This is definitely a difficult situation to talk about. And a lot of people just are not comfortable in the least bit talking about this. But that's exactly why you, as the leader in your organization, needs to set the tone. Don't be afraid to bring this up in staff meetings. Don't be afraid to get accountability partners. There's certain things that I take precautions. I set strict boundaries in my life. A long time ago, I heard Billy Graham say that he never even steps in an elevator if he's alone with another woman. And I try to live by that as well. So there's little boundaries that you can set up for yourself. Like I said during the episode, I'm a big time hugger. So it's nothing for me to shake hands with somebody, and if I've known them before or if I have a good relationship with them, man, I'm going in for the hug. And that's just me. I was raised, every time we said hello, goodbye, we gave hugs to everybody. Now my wife, she's not quite the hugger. When I met her and her family, they're not the biggest huggers, but over the years, I think they've become huggers, and man, I go in for the hug now all the time. But that's just me, all right? You gotta get a feel for that, and you gotta get a sense for what's comfortable with each relationship. And like I said earlier, if you think something's just a little bit off, you need to step up. And you need to say something. You need to start asking questions, because your people expect you as the leader to come to them and to ask them questions. They expect you as the leader to know. Now, is that fair? Not all the time. But you know what? Being a leader is tough sometimes. It's not always fair, but that's just a part of the job. So sexual harassment, it's never a comfortable topic to talk about, but I encourage you to have those open conversations. Encourage your people to come to you and talk to you. And if somebody comes to you with a type of sexual harassment, or if they feel like they're uncomfortable, you need to report that, depending on the situation, up your chain of command. And if you have any type of system in place, that could be a reportable offense. So make sure you know the laws in your organization. If you have legal counsel or anything like that, get them to come and give a briefing. In the Air Force, we had a sexual awareness response coordinator, or a SARC, on each base. And they were always, as a supervisor, as a leader in the Air Force, they were always on speed dial for me, because whenever anything came up and I had a question, I'd be calling them and saying, hey, I have this situation. What do I need to do? So make sure that you're aware of it. Make sure you encourage your people and have open conversations. Don't be afraid to discuss this openly. Hey, that's it for today. I hope you have a great day, a great Monday, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges.